Hi there, welcome along. This is Good Morning Transfers. Marcus Rashford's Manchester United future remains uncertain, but time is running out for the forward to get a move away. Rashford might not be the only player set to leave. Alejandro Garnacho is wanted by Napoli as negotiations continue for the winger. Ange Postecoglou's focus is on bringing in a forward this month, but what are the options available to Spurs? And at 9:30, we're joined by the Hull owner, Achin Ilajali, as they close in on a move for Aston Villa's in-demand Louis Barry. A very good morning to you at home, or wherever you're watching us this morning, to Kwaku Afari, Olivia Bazaglo and Dan Bardell. Let's start, though, with Manchester United and Marcus Rashford. Time is running out for him to get a move away from the club. Barcelona, his preferred destination, are yet to make an offer for the forward and are struggling to create any salary space. Kwaku, can you understand why there is so much interest in Marcus Rashford, but as we stand here, 28th of January, no concrete offers on the table?
Well, we all remember the 22-23 season. Marcus Rashford, probably his best season in his career. Under Erik Ten Hag, Man United finished third. He scored a lot of goals. They won the League Cup and got to the FA Cup final, but he's not been able to replicate that form in the subsequent years. And he's a player that is one of Manchester United's highest earners, and he deserved the contract at the time. Obviously, it was given to him by a different ownership group, and it looks like Manchester United are going in a different model. We've heard about their struggles when it comes to PSR. And as their highest earner and a player that doesn't seem to be in favour with Ruben Amorim, it's imperative that Manchester United find a solution to this issue, especially because it's been so public, both from Rashford and from his manager. If you look at the potential landing spots, though, they are limited for Marcus Rashford, partly because of the wages and also partly because of the needs of clubs across Europe. You look at AC Milan, who opted to go for Kyle Walker. They're off the table. They've reached their quota when it comes to players from non-EU countries. If you think about Borussia Dortmund, they've got their own issues going on. Recently sacked Nuri Sahin. They sit 11th in the Bundesliga table. And when it comes to wages, they might not be able to provide what Marcus Rashford requires. So I expect teams to wait it out until the deadline and see if the wage demands reduce from Marcus Rashford. But at the moment, it seems like it's difficult for him to find a landing spot at a team in Europe that matches his ambitions.
The argument from the Telegraph is that Marcus Rashford's suitors think they can get a better deal now because of Ruben Amorim's comments at the weekend. The fact is they think they can get him for lower wages and potentially a lower loan fee if there is any. As the days tick on, though, do you think he'll get this move away?
I think certainly the dialogue coming out of Manchester United isn't exactly protecting his value. It's coming across a little bit desperate. Not maybe desperate's the wrong word, but like everyone knows that they don't want Marcus Rashford to be there. Marcus Rashford's obviously done an interview as well saying he'd be keen for a new challenge. So from Manchester United's perspective, I don't think they're in the strongest position. I still think he'll end up staying. We're 28 days into January now, and I've said I think this is going to be a very difficult transfer/loan to go through. I think there's a lot of complexities around it, especially when you look at Marcus Rashford's salary. For any club to even take 50% of that salary is a big ask. We know in January it's a difficult market anyway. A lot of clubs simply don't have that kind of wage that they can pay. It doesn't fit into a lot of clubs' wage structure. So I still think the most likely option here is that Marcus Rashford ends up staying, and then from there's got to be some bridges built from somewhere, because he's never been fully banished from Manchester United. This is very different to the Sancho situation of last year, where Sancho wasn't really allowed in the building, was he, to train with the first team, to see the first team. There was kind of a complete breakdown of the relationship. Because he's still training with the first team, I still feel like there is a way back for Marcus Rashford, but something needs to change because he can't go on like this. But I honestly still think he'll stay at Manchester United.
Yeah, I think he'll end up staying at Man United as well. I worry. Obviously, Ruben Amorim's comments since Marcus Rashford hasn't been in the squad have always been the same. He has always said it's on Marcus Rashford himself. If he wants to give his all, then he will be back in my squad. And I just worry, has that relationship with Amorim gone too far now that Marcus Rashford just doesn't see a way back? But like you say, if we do get to the end of the window and he's still a Manchester United player, it might make sense that maybe a move in the summer becomes more likely. But to get a move in the summer, he's going to have to play. You can't be not playing any football. If you're one Marcus Rashford with aims to get back in the England squad with a World Cup next year, it doesn't make any sense for Marcus Rashford to still be having this attitude. And if he does stay at Manchester United, and you would like to think, we've seen it before, he is a professional. And you would like to think if it does happen and he does stay at Manchester United, then him and Ruben Amorim will have to have a conversation, and hopefully they will get to a point where Marcus Rashford will be back in the Man United squad and playing the football that everyone knows he can. But it's such a difficult situation now because, like you say, all the clubs are going to be waiting to the end of the window hoping they can get Marcus Rashford for less money than Man United want. And it's a really tough one, but I think he'll be a Man United player come the end of the window.
I think he'll be keeping a keen eye on the man we're about to speak about as well in Garnacho. I think a lot of what happens with Rashford actually might hinge on Garnacho, because if Garnacho does go, I know Rashford's out of favour at the moment, he's not been picked, but suddenly then...
There's no natural option there on the left wing, is there?
No, it's with the other forward players that have left the building as well, like Anthony. They're players that have been in the matchday squads. Suddenly, if they're not there, there is an opening, and then there perhaps is that route to a way back into the Manchester United team.
But I'm not sure that Ruben Amorim would just be like, OK, here you go. I genuinely don't think... I think we've seen him come in and make big decisions early on, and I think Manchester United fans have appreciated that. You know, he's the manager and whatever he says goes. I don't believe he's the sort of manager that if Marcus Rashford... If Garnacho does, say, leave Man United, and there is that spot on the left wing, which we know Marcus Rashford was so brilliant in a couple of seasons ago, he won't just give that to Marcus Rashford. You have to earn your way back into this squad. He will play other players in that position until Marcus Rashford is in a position where he is giving his all for the club and has earned that place back on the left wing.
OK, Marcus Rashford's future remains unclear, but let's get to Alejandro Garnacho. Dan mentioned it there. Napoli set to resume talks with Manchester United over Garnacho. Now, Napoli want to get an agreement in principle with the winger and his representatives. United would be reluctant sellers, but are not in a financial position to turn down a sizable offer for him. Dan, when we got this news yesterday, for me it felt like it feels more likely that United are going to try and get this deal over the line simply because of the financial position they're in right now. So do you think he's going to stay, or do you think he's going to leave?
I'm the opposite to what I think about Rashford. I think Garnacho will go, because I think there's opportunities there for him to go. I think there's a natural fit at Chelsea if he decides to go there, or a natural fit at Napoli, given in mind who's left them this summer. That's a completely different situation to Rashford, where things feel a little bit more complicated. I think he'd fit in at both teams. He doesn't necessarily fit with Manchester United at the moment and the way they're trying to line up. I think the good thing for him is that he's applying himself. All the noise coming out of the Manchester United camp is that even though there's this speculation over his future, he's doing the right things, he's displaying the right attitude. So if he does stay, he'll be no problem at all. But I think if you look at what Chelsea need and look at what Napoli need, I actually think for Garnacho now, there might be better places for him to play his football, because quite simply Amorim's system, there is no natural fit. He's not a wing-back, he's not an inside 10. So long-term for Manchester United, where's he going to play? Whereas I think Chelsea and Napoli, there's openings there for him.
Well, from a Napoli perspective, we know they've held discussions with Manchester United. Chelsea haven't done so, but they've held a long-standing interest, and it's been a case of biding their time potentially. Do you think, with things looking like they may be accelerating with Napoli, that Chelsea will act, and should they act?
Should they act is a good question. I think the number that's been reported that Man United want, I'm not sure Chelsea would be willing to pay for Alejandro Garnacho. Like Dan says, there is an opening on that left-hand side, because really Jadon Sancho is the only natural left winger, and even he played a lot of his best football at Dortmund on the right. And on the right, Chelsea have Madueke, they have Pedro Neto, who's better on the right. Estavio's coming in the summer, who's also a right winger. So there is. I can't say I watched Chelsea's defeat at Manchester City, and I've watched all the Chelsea when they've dropped points this season, and think they're crying out for a left winger. I do think they need numbers in those positions. I'm just not sure Alejandro Garnacho is the answer. I think he's similar and different, I think, to the Chelsea wingers. I think, he's shown moments of absolute brilliance at United. But I also think there has been some issues with his attitude, or for whatever reason he's been left out of squads before, similar to Noni Madueke at Chelsea. I think that he's a little bit inconsistent. His decision-making isn't always great, but I think that is expected for a winger of his age. He's still young, still very inexperienced. But again, I don't think a young, inexperienced winger is what Chelsea need right now. I think it's the total opposite, to be perfectly honest.
If you think about Garnacho, I think we're at a point right now where he's almost underrated, because we've been overexposed to a player that last season he was a teenager. Last season he scored a goal in an FA Cup final. He scored one of the most iconic goals in Premier League history in terms of that overhead kick against Everton. He contributed massively to a Manchester United team that did struggle, but did also win a trophy. And so a player that has so much upside and is still so young, I can understand why people are questioning the price tag, but he's got a lot of ability, and they relied on him heavily, Manchester United, last season. I understand that the fit might not be perfect at Chelsea, but Chelsea do need bodies in wide areas, and he's got that attacking impetus. He wants it. When you talk about mentality, he's a player that shows that he wants all and he wants all right now. Whether he's consistent enough, that remains to be seen. I think that comes with age. But I really like the profile of this player, and he could. When you look at Chelsea and you look at what Chelsea are trying to do in terms of the profile players they're bringing in, the age of the players that they're bringing in, Garnacho fits into that. And if there's an opportunity, Chelsea owners, Clear Lake and Todd Bowley, have shown that they are opportunistic in the market. And I believe that if the opportunity presents itself with Garnacho, I can't see why a team like Chelsea wouldn't take it.
I understand where Chelsea have gone and the type of profile of players that Chelsea have bought over the last, or since Clear Lake have basically been in charge. But I don't think that's what Chelsea need right now. I think in certain aspects they've got it right in going down that road. But I think what this Chelsea team is crying out for is experience. It's not another inexperienced player, because we've got the youngest squad in the Premier League by a mile. And it works in some senses, but I think in a Premier League team that's so young, why are we adding another?
Yeah, I can understand that. Take your mind back to a couple of summers ago when Chelsea went to Manchester and brought over a homegrown product from a team in Manchester, and that player turned out to be Cole Palmer. I'm not comparing Alejandro Garnacho to
It sounds
Cole
like you are,
Palmer,
Quakey.
but he's a player that's got incredible ability. And again, like I say, Chelsea, when they sniff an opportunity, they go and attack it. And Garnacho, if put in the right situation, I can really see him thriving at a club like Chelsea.
He comes into their best 11 for me if he joins. There is a definite space on that left-hand side. No one's nailed that space down at all.
No one's nailed it down. However, I don't think Alejandro Garnacho comes in and starts straight away. No, because I actually really don't. And I think if you're going to spend 70 mil on someone, surely that has to be a starter. I don't know.
We understand United looking for potentially £50 million in this window now for Napoli, which would be a good deal for Napoli. United fans would be desperate not to see him go in this transfer window. But United fans want to know about potential incomings, don't they? There have been positive talks between Manchester United and Lecce over the signing of Patrick Dorgu. They continued yesterday. It's understood the fee under discussion is in the region of £30 million. United will walk away if they're not satisfied with the overall package. So we'll keep an eye on the situation at Manchester United.
We start with breaking news, and Manchester United are close to finalising a deal to sign Lecce defender Patrick Dorgu. Many aspects of the deal, worth in the region of £30 million, have been agreed in principle. Positive talks continue over structure and makeup of the deal. Dorgu wants to join, and personal terms are not expected to be a problem. United have been looking at a number of left wing-backs in this window. Napoli have also been trying to sign him and had indicated they were willing to leave him at Lecce on loan. But it appears Ruben Amorim's side are in pole position now.